This? It's good?
On August 1st, 2022, this small mining town of Soledar in Ukraine had apartments, buildings, houses. Fast forward to January 10th, 2023, and it had turned to rubble. That same afternoon, a statement on the app Telegram surfaced claiming Wagner took control of this entire territory of Soledar. But even though the Russian army has been fighting across Ukraine for months, this message didn't come from them. It came from Yevgeny Prigozhin, a Russian oligarch with close ties to Russian President Vladimir Putin. He started out as a Kremlin caterer, where he got the nickname Putin's chef. But in 2014, he became the head of the Wagner Group, a covert Russian network with mining companies, political influence operations, and a brutal private military force. Until recently, the Wagner Group was a secret operation, and claiming a public victory like this was rare. But things are starting to change. And the playbook of this dangerous group is becoming much, much clearer.
All right.
In 2014, Russian forces annexed Crimea and began fighting in eastern Ukraine's Donbass region. A year later, soldiers in unmarked green uniforms showed up on the ground to support Russian troops. They were called Little Green Men, but we now know
this was likely the first time Wagner soldiers were deployed on the ground.
These soldiers have become Prigozhin's frontline agents for Russia's global strategy.
They serve multiple purposes for the Russian government, but chief among them is to divert attention from activities that the Russian government, and the Kremlin in particular, doesn't want the world to pay attention to.
That's Candice Rondeau, a journalist who investigates the Wagner Group and Russia's strategy for proxy warfare.
One of the main functions that the Wagner Group serves is to deliver weapons and military services to countries with which Russia has a military technical agreement.
Russian law technically prohibits its citizens from fighting for money in foreign countries, but the opaque nature of the Wagner Group has allowed it to recruit tens of thousands of soldiers, mainly from Russia.
Generally speaking, these are hardened military veterans at the command level, and then at
the mercenaries
sort of rank and file level. Those who were not recruited from prisons tend to come from elite backgrounds. In the beginning, you couldn't really distinguish them, but today the Wagner Group brand is completely recognizable by their emblems, their insignia, and their online brand. These guys now are basically kind of like the McDonald's of the Russian way of war.
And this new visibility has given us a better look at the three strategies they employ to do Russia's dirty work around the world.
The what?
The Wagner Group targets countries experiencing long conflicts or that are weakly governed or corrupt. Take Syria, which has been under authoritarian rule for more than 50 years, and in 2011 saw a civil war break out between the Syrian government and anti-government
authoritarian rule
groups. To fight the rebels, Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad turned to his Russian ally for help. Shortly after, Wagner mercenaries appeared in Syria to support the government forces. Since then, all these countries have seen Wagner troops on the ground, most of them while going through periods of instability. This has allowed the Wagner Group, and by extension Russia, to expand its reach to at least 4 different continents. In particular in Africa, where at least 18 different countries have seen Wagner forces on the ground in the past decade.
Wait, so think this right. Let's say a country has like a problem, or they like buy their people, right? They like buy the service, and he says we'll pull up, right? They'll land, and they're like mercenaries for their cause, whoever asks for them, pretty much.
In these client states where Wagner is operating, a lot of the work is teaching local militaries how to do kind of reconnaissance and counterinsurgency, but often in a very rough way.
The Wagner Group generally does this by spearheading brutal military incursions, like in Mali, another prime target for Wagner. Since 2012, Mali has been fighting a jihadist insurgency and has experienced 3 coups in just 9 years. 2 of the 3 coups brought Assimi Goïta to power, a Russian-backed president that remains in power today. For nearly a decade, Mali had military support from France,
its former colonizer.
But in 2021, when France started to withdraw its army, it's widely believed Mali contracted Wagner troops to help them fight against the rebels and secure power.
I have no idea. I don't know. I just watched the video, man.
Mali denies the deployment of Russian mercenaries from the Wagner Group, but satellite imagery analyzed by the Center for Strategic and International Studies suggests they arrived quietly in December of 2021 and built a military base and access roads by the airport to facilitate their deployment.
One of the biggest motivations for standing up a ghost army that nobody can quite describe or define, the main purpose of that is to make sure that the activities that the people do are not seen and cannot be traced and tracked.
But that doesn't always work. In April of 2022, a mass grave in the Malian desert was traced back to the Wagner Group. They've also been linked to other violent incidents in Mali, including here, where they killed about 350 men in March of 2022.
Jesus.
A UN report shows that since Wagner's arrival in Mali, the number of civilian deaths has increased by 324%, and thousands more have been displaced. Once the Wagner Group arrives in a fragile country and intervenes militarily to help local dictators backed by Russia, the big question is, what's in it for them?
Because they're so integral to the military technical agreements, they're also part of a cycle of debts and loans that are incurred.
I don't know how I feel about Vox as a whole. I feel like Vox, they're tough sometimes about things that like if they're hard to understand or we don't really know about. I feel like Vox overall sometimes it's kind of like I don't know.
When client states of Russia want to,
Just
improve their armies in exchange for those loans, typically the Wagner Group, through a series
I'm
of
not saying in this case it's true, but I'm just saying overall, a lot of the videos seem very biased.
shell companies will get payment in the form of oil or gold or uranium even.
Which is exactly what happened in Sudan. A country that's been under autocratic rule for 3 decades, went through a series of coups, and is now ruled by Sudan's military. Sudan's relationship with the Wagner Group began in 2017. At the time, Sudan's then president Omar al-Bashir felt his grip on power slipping and met with Putin to establish a new alliance with Russia. Transcripts show he presented Sudan as Russia's key to Africa. Soon after they met...
I'm not feeling edgy. It's just because I think a lot of times what I realize from these videos is that somebody will point out a problem, right? That like everybody does, right? It's like, oh wow, these guys are doing this. What the fuck? It's like everybody does it, right? And then it just kind of feels odd, right? Maybe not in this case. I mean overall.
Russian military vehicles like this one were spotted on the ground.
The videos give me.
And videos of Wagner troops training Sudanese soldiers surfaced on social media. In 2019, when al-Bashir was overthrown in a military coup, the arrangement persisted, proving just how enmeshed Wagner troops and the Sudanese army have become. And that's because the Wagner Group has a lot to gain. In exchange for providing weapons and training, the Wagner Group operates gold plants like this one, where they exploit Sudan's natural resources.
Getting that kind of high-value commodity that can be quickly turned into cash through a money laundering enterprise is a big part of the...
Makes sense. Okay, chat. I want to get something. I want to watch it. I forgot what it is. I forgot that. I get it. I've seen it. Is it this video?